The champagne flutes clinked as my brother Knox and his new wife drank their inaugural toast. As a married couple I stood in the corner of the grand ballroom, my bridesmaid dress irritating my neck as my mother wiped away tears from her eyes, accompanied by an embroidered handkerchief. Everything was flawless, the flowers, the music, the place. It ought to be. Everything seemed ideal. Although my mind was preoccupied with the acceptance letter weighing heavily in my bag. I am Lena. And this was the day my future was consumed by flames. Did you inform her about my father yet? A murmured voice emanated from behind a marble column. I had not intended to eavesdrop. Yet something in his tone compelled me to listen. Gilbert, please refrain from action today. My mother's voice quivered. We may deliberate later following the wedding. Anley. We must inform her promptly that the deposit for Stanford is due next week. And we have already expended it. My mother expressed her displeasure because the wedding exceeded the budget significantly, necessitating the use of Lena's education money to cover the expenses for the champagne glass. It nearly slipped from my grasp as I placed it on a nearby table. My hand trembling. My father requested cash. And she sighed. But KNX required this. As you are aware, the significance of appearances in his social circle is paramount. This wedding will create numerous opportunities for him. I stepped back, my heel clicking against the floor. The tearing sound from the hem of my garment attracted their attention, causing both my parents to turn around abruptly. Mother's complexion turned ashen. Darling, how long have you been there? My speech became more composed than I felt. You utilized my education fund for his wedding. We can elucidate that my father initiated this as someone reached for my arm. I recoiled. Please elucidate the significance of that particular day in relation to Knox. My mother objected that it was unfair, claiming it jeopardized my entire future. But we will find a solution. Consider attending community college for 1 or 2 years. I laughed. But it resembled a sob. I was admitted to Stanford. Are you aware of this? How diligently I labored for that? Lower your voice, my father said, surveying the surroundings as onlookers began to take notice across the room. KNX captured my attention. He was radiating joy. Entirely unaware of the impending danger that had recently been introduced into my life, his new wife clung to his arm, both embodying privilege. I must leave this place. I turned towards the exit. Lena. Wait. My mother seized my wrist, insisting that I could not leave since I was part of the wedding party and we still needed to take photographs. I forcefully extracted my arm from her grasp, emphasizing the need for photos. Are you genuinely asserting that you allocated my entire future on centerpieces and a chocolate fountain? My father assured us that we will compensate you. Please allow us time to fulfill our commitment. Articulate the rationale for why KNX merits all accolades and I merit none. I sensed tears welling up. However, I refused to let them falter. I am no longer an afterthought in this family. I rushed toward the exit, disregarding the whispers and the steps. KNX yelled my name. But I did not halt. I could not endure it. To gaze at him. Aware that his flawless day had expended all my efforts in the parking lot, I discarded my heels adorned on my feet as I retrieved my admission letter from my bag. The Stanford letterhead shimmered in the setting sun, marking 4 years of straight A's. Numerous all-nighters and other extracurricular activities have all been in vain for Lena. A voice shouted out. It was Vanessa, my best friend since middle school. Knox's wife had invited her to the college as a friend. Roommate. What transpired in there? I disclosed everything, the words spilling forth amidst labored breaths. That is troubling, she stated, eventually embracing me. What are you going to do? I gazed down at the acceptance letter one final time prior to tearing it asunder. I shall demonstrate their fallacy. I require neither their financial support nor their validation. I certainly do not require their sympathy. Where will you go? Anywhere but here. I have withdrawn. I distanced myself from her embrace and squared my shoulders. They believe KNX is their sole opportunity for producing successful offspring. Very well, allow them to believe so, yet one day they will comprehend what they have discarded. I departed from the event. My bare feet on the frigid concrete, I created a vow that when I next encountered my family, I would no longer be the younger sister who yielded. She sacrificed her future for her brother's ideal day. I aspired to be someone they could not overlook, someone they would be compelled to acknowledge. I wanted to be someone they could respect. Someone they might regret underestimating months post-wedding. I was managing plates at Joe's diner during the morning rush when Vanessa entered my section. Her fancy purse was a dramatic contrast to the tattered vinyl booths. "You look terrible," she remarked. She scrutinized me while reviewing her menu. I had just replenished a customer's coffee, seating myself across from her. I remarked that this is precisely what every female desires to hear at 7 a.m. "I am serious." "Lena, when was the last time you slept?" I checked my watch. "Does a 2-hour nap between shifts qualify?" "No. It does not." She reached across the table. I grasped my hand. This arrangement of serving tables during the day and bartending at night is untenable. Balancing community college classes between shifts will lead to burnout. What options are available to me? I withdrew my hand to record an order from the adjacent table. "Unless you own an extra trust." The fun available nearby caused Vanessa's eyes to illuminate in a perilous manner. Did when she suspected I could own something superior before she could. My manager announced from the kitchen that the order for table 6 is ready. "Lena, hold that thought," I murmured while hastily retrieving the plates. Upon my return, Vanessa had her laptop open, recalling the business course I am undertaking at Berkeley, where we have a project regarding identifying market gaps and proposing solutions. "It is intriguing." I expressed this with a deadpan demeanor. She refilled her coffee. "But I have 3 further tables to attend to." She turned to listen. "The screen faces me. It is exceedingly difficult to locate quality event planning services for tiny enterprises. Everyone either serves large organizations or wedding events." I recoiled at the mention of the word wedding. She spoke quickly. "But it's important to remember that many startup companies aim to host launch parties, networking gatherings, and holiday celebrations. Celebrations are hindered by the inability to afford large corporations. While budget alternatives are subpar, we could address this gap." Our eyes were radiant. "I possess the business acumen, while you have the organizational expertise. I have observed your capabilities manage 3 jobs while attending school and effectively orchestrate every school event during high school. I found amusement in the startup capital. In case you have forgotten, my current residence, a studio flat comparable to a cupboard. I possess savings," she stated. "And my parents, they consistently expressed their want to invest in my inaugural company endeavor, suggesting we commence modestly to establish a portfolio." The kitchen bell rang once more. "Consider the order," Vanessa called as I hurried away. "And we might label it accordingly throughout my shift." Her statements on white glove events resonated in my mind amidst refills and orders. I discovered myself drafting concepts on my notepad, including contact lists of prospective clients' marketing techniques. That evening, I was tallying my tips when my phone vibrated with a text from KNX. "Parents continually inquiring about you. May we converse?" I deleted it without hesitation in response to another buzz. "They express their distress, Lena. We all share this sentiment. Please erase." The third buzz originated from Vanessa's arrival at the pub tonight, where we are deliberating on this business concept. Regardless of your opinion, true to her word, she arrived at the dive bar where I was employed. Seeming entirely incongruous in her corporate attire, she waited until my break to present a comprehensive business plan that I had prepared. "Calculate the figures," she instructed, as she spread documents across the adhesive surface. "Utilizing my funds and a little loan from my parents, we may commence within 3 months. I acknowledged the risk, however. I was already prepared. Her projections indicate that life is perilous. Overexerting oneself might be hazardous." She reviewed the company strategy. "This is an opportunity I contemplated regarding my limited space. My apartment is burdened by my increasing student loans from community college. I contemplated Knox's wedding, my parents' betrayal, and the future I was meant to have if we proceeded with this. Stated deliberately that we execute tasks correctly, without shortcuts or accepting inferior quality." Vanessa smiled. "Is that a yes?" "It's a maybe." I took a napkin and began. "We must conduct competitor research, develop a website, and establish vendor relationships," she interjected, putting up other documents on her phone, stating that she had been arranging this for relationships that had already commenced for weeks. I observed my friend closely, while I had been engulfed in self-pity and fatigue. She had been. "Why are you extending a lifeline to me?" I inquired, and her look softened. "Because you merit superior treatment, Lena. I have observed your relentless efforts over the years, only to witness everything being unjustly stripped away. Absent. As I am aware that, if afforded the opportunity, you will create something extraordinary. My break timer beeped, indicating my return to the bar. Okay, I said, straightening up. Let's proceed. But we shall not refer to it as such. Vanessa laughed at the white glove occurrences, prompting me to reflect on my family demonstrating their misconceptions regarding surpassing their anticipations at Phoenix events. I asserted we will emerge from these ashes and soar. Concluding our presentation on Phoenix events' 5-year plan growth strategy, I inquired if there were any questions as I navigated to the final slide in the boardroom. Venture capitalists regarded me with inscrutable expressions. 5 years had altered my persona. From a waitress in a cafe to the chief executive officer of the rapidly expanding event management company. The bespoke suit I wore from a company in the Bay Area cost more than 3 months' salary. An investor raised his hand, presenting amazing figures. Miss Lena, about my previous rental competitor Quantum Events has been executing assertive strategies in your market sector. How do you intend to sustain your position? I laughed, having anticipated this inquiry. Quantum Events emphasize quantity, but we prioritize quality for our client. The retention rate is 97%. In contrast to their 63%, indeed. My phone vibrated on the table. The term Knox illuminated the screen, prompting me to turn it face down. I persisted in this action. We have successfully obtained an exclusive deal with the 3 leading emerging technology businesses in Silicon Valley for their entire event following the meeting next year. Vanessa approached me in the elevator to discuss their impending investment. She observed it in a sheep pause. She noxitated. Again? Is that Knox calling again for the 3rd time? This week. I review messages. 7s and focal events. Emails and 12 texts him. Perhaps you should listen to him. Out. Proposed that it has been years, 5 years of radio silence, until he needed attention. The elevator doors opened to our office floor. We declined to enter. Occupied all of the 20th level of a downtown high-rise, which featured glass walls, panoramic vistas of the city, and our emblem, a rising phoenix in polished silver. Employees dominated the reception area, bustling around to coordinate activities of significance. Millions. M. Lena, my assistant, announced that Mr. Welch from Quantum Events is on the line. It is stated that it is important. I exchanged glances with Vanessa. Quinton Welch, who was the most formidable competitor, recognized for his assertive acquisition endeavors targeting smaller enterprises, has been directed to my office, he stated. Then turned to Vanessa, expressing a desire to eavesdrop. She smiled, indicating she would not miss it. Quinton punched the speaker button, exclaiming, "What a surprise, Lena!" As his mellifluous voice resonated around the room. Congratulations on securing the technology contracts, they are rather impressive. Let us proceed directly to the point. Quinton, what do you desire? Let's proceed directly to business. That has always been a quality I like in you. He paused for emphasis. I am phoning concerning your brother. My hand became immobilized over the mouse pad. Pardon me. KNX White. He has been fairly persistent in seeking a position at Quantum, claiming to have familial connections in the sector, which I found amusing. However, he is conveying that there was no humor in it. I found that intriguing. Given your relationship, we haven't communicated in years. Quinton's voice was laden with insincere worry. I would detest to, I observed an individual leveraging connections they do not possess, before I could reply. My aide interrupted once more. M. Lena. My brother is in the lobby, and is adamant about seeing you. Vanessa raised her eyebrows and said, Quinton. You're talking about the devil. I must return your call. I disconnected without awaiting his reply. Should I request security to remove him? Vanessa. I stood up, adjusting my outfit. As it was time to hear what he had to say, the elevator doors opened, revealing my brother, once the golden boy, now appearing significantly less illustrious. As he was out of his suit, the rack, his tie slightly askew, indicated that time had not been as benevolent to him as it had been to me. Lena, he remarked. Advancing, he observed the office environment and inquired, What do you desire from KNX? The perspectives of the industrious employees indicate unmistakable symptoms of affluence. I have tried to contact you. I saw that a significant portion of the industry seems to be operating based on familial ties. He had the grace of appearing ashamed.
I can explain. Save it, I replied.
Turning to walk away subsequently ceased. It is amusing to recall the wager placed by Mom and Dad many years ago.
All aspects concerning you align precisely with their expectations, nevertheless.
They supported the incorrect choice.
Which is unjust. I maintained that I was unaware of the college fund until thereafter. What occurred after you had your ideal wedding?
After you squandered my future for your grand occasion? I approached closer. Or until your economic endeavors faltered.
Necessitating reliance on others, your parents are in distress. Disclosed that their savings are on the verge of being entirely depleted. I contemplated that if I could merely establish myself in the industry, I would cease. I raised my hand regardless of your inquiry. The response is negative.
Lena, please consider that there are parents involved. The phone buzzed again. Another investor was calling with another chance. They have chosen KNX. And now they can live. I instructed my aide to escort my brother out and ensure he gets added to the no-entry list. The elevator doors closed on Knox's vanquished visage. I felt no emotion towards the frightened individual. The sister who had lost everything at his wedding was replaced with a stronger individual.
One who had forged her own resilience, construct their own future independently.
Free from the necessity of external validation, Vanessa remarked.
Peeking through the restaurant.
That is love still endures. A figure knocked on the glass while seated on a bench across from our usual lunch location.
His shoulders hunched,
indicating he could remain there indefinitely for all I care.
I stabbed at my salad. This has been following me for 2 weeks, attending meetings while waiting outside my flat.
Sending numerous messages. Perhaps you should refrain from suggesting that I listened to him. Vanessa leaned forward.
I intended to suggest that perhaps you should annihilate him entirely. I set down my fork.
What do you think? Quinton called again this morning. He wishes to meet and claims he has an intriguing proposition concerning KNX. My phone illuminated with another message from my brother requesting just 5 minutes, that is all. I am requesting to arrange the appointment. I informed Vanessa that Quinton's office was comprehensive. One might anticipate such behavior from an individual endeavoring excessively to demonstrate their success, exhibiting a facade of chrome and leather.
Although possessing a somewhat diminished perspective, he stood,
straightening his costly tie. More impressive than I.
As we entered.
Lena. Vanessa.
Thank you for attending. He nodded toward the seats opposite his desk. I may provide you with water or coffee. The purpose of this meeting is what I mentioned while seated. He grinned warmly as always. I have a proposition that it would be mutually advantageous.
As your brother has been relentless in his efforts to join quantum happenings, I understand that you might not be aware that your brother has been actively involved. Quinton presented a business strategy that directly competes with the key markets of both our firms. Folder across the desk.
He has been meeting with investors claiming insider knowledge of our operations. Within the folder I accessed,
there were photographs from the KNX meeting with several individuals, copies of his business plan and transcripts of discussions in which he referenced his sister's success story were provided to investors as evidence of his professional expertise.
How did you acquire all this?
Quinton shrugged. I own my sources. The question is how we shall proceed. I have raised I propose a partnership in which we combine our resources to thwart his efforts. He entered the market and then paused abruptly.
Stating that we should split the prizes beforehand. I could answer. My phone buzzed again. This time,
it was not KNX,
but my mother. Lena.
Your father has suffered a heart attack. The words on the television became indistinct. Vanessa,
reading over my shoulder, squeezed my arm.
I informed Quinton that I would need to contemplate his offer while standing. Promptly provide me with the details in writing outside his office.
Vanessa. Lena grasped my arm.
Are you going to the hospital?
I replied.
No. But my voice trembled. They made their decision. The words reverberated in the vacant corridor. They selected KNX. She softly stated that you have always selected KNX and now own the power to pick. The inquiry pertains to the type of individual you aspire to become. I have discovered KNX and am still awaiting a response upon seeing me outside my office. He leapt up, however.
Before he could utter a word, I raised my hand and inquired. How severe is it?
Dad?
Stable. However. He ran a hand through his hair. The medical expenses will be substantial.
As they have already remortgaged the property house for my unsuccessful startup, they possess nothing remaining. And I presume you require my assistance." His voice faltered. "I recognize that I am unworthy of your assistance. I was oblivious to my own wealth."
"But there are parents. Lena."
To whom I considered Quinton's offer regarding the satisfaction derived from witnessing KNX's repeated failures. I then reflected on my father in a hospital bed and my mother concerned about financial obligations rather than his recuperation.
If I were to express it gradually, and I emphasize if I believe assistance will not be provided by you, and will not be complimentary. What do you mean by wanting to collaborate in this industry? One must begin at the bottom. Like I did. Without any name dropping. Riding on coattails does not demonstrate competence. I am willing to do anything," he stated hastily. "Along with Mom and Dad," I persisted. "They must comprehend precisely their actions, no excuses. No justifications."
"I desire them to experience that they select a weight of their preference and murmur KNX daily upon seeing you success is assured. Whenever they see your name in the business headlines, they recognize their investment was prudent." My phone rang again regarding the incorrect child. It was likely Quinton inquiring about his proposal.
I rejected the call and decided to visit my father. Tomorrow, I stated. Ultimately not for you or them, but because I must ascertain that when I achieve success, and I shall achieve it, I have ascended further not by undermining others but by choosing to elevate myself.
KNX nodded.
Tears in his eyes. And I added as I turned to go. "If you ever utilize my name to further your own interests, and I will ensure you are permanently excluded from this industry."
"Are we unequivocally clear?" he stated as I departed and removed Quinton's number from my phone.
Revenge may be gratifying, but I was beginning to believe that genuine accomplishment may be more gratifying than the hospital experience.
The corridor reeked of disinfectant and stale coffee as I stood outside room 412.
My heels clicking on the floor, sinking into the industrial carpet, as my mother's voice emanated from the partially open door. "Gilbert, please eat." The doctor halted mid-sentence upon seeing me. Lena, aged 5 years, had altered her appearance more than I anticipated, with grey streaks marring her previously flawless visage as she entered the hallway and closed the door. Wrinkles from worry and concern etched her cheeks. As she stood by the door, she remarked, "I didn't expect you to arrive." I replied,
"Neither did I."
As I handed her the item, the coffee I brought. "He is stable yet obstinate." Refusing to consume the hospital meal, she took a sip and grimaced,
stating that KNX mentioned their conversation,
which was quite awkward. A hush extended between us as a nurse passed by.
Reviewing charts concerning Lena, I raised my hand in response to the wedding she initiated. "I am not here to revisit the past, I am here because I carefully considered the words I chose."
"I require clarification on whether you comprehend your actions."
As we believed we were acting appropriately, she gently stated that Knox's wedding was intended to be his initiation. He had the opportunity to integrate into society,
establish contacts,
and observe the outcome. My remarks were more cutting than intended. "You jeopardized my future for his fleeting day of once exalted.
He is now diminished to soliciting remnants from my success." Her eyes brimmed with tears as we conversed. "Incorrect, it is profoundly erroneous."
My phone vibrated with a message indicating that Vanessa Quinton's information is disseminating rumors regarding KNX prompted me to address the situation. I swiftly responded, "No.
Allow him to speak. I have a superior notion."
"Mother,"
I stated as I set my phone aside, "I will assist with father's tasks." Lena abruptly raised her head, exclaiming, "We cannot possibly address the medical bills, I am not finished." I encountered her gaze. "Under the condition that you and Dad will participate in therapy both individually and as a relationship, you must comprehend why you repeatedly selected KNX over me." She nodded, wiping her tears. "The second knock begins at the lowest level in my company's mailroom. Earning a minimum salary. No preferential treatment. If he desires to understand the business, he will do so appropriately." She stated succinctly. He has transformed. Lena's failings have humbled him. And I persisted in my support to assist me with the matter. I elucidated my idea, and her eyes widened in surprise. "You desire us to, which host will organize the charity gala events in Phoenix?" And where will they be held? I smiled. At your country club.
Where all your former society friends were there, the same individuals who attended Knox's wedding had a dawning comprehension on her face. You desire them to recognize the true value of their cherished social connections in relation to tangible assets through diligence and resolve. I glanced at my watch. The event aims to generate funds for scholarships. For children whose families prioritized society weddings over their schooling.
A feeble voice emerged from inside the room.
Lena Momo opened the door to find her father lying in the hospital bed. He appeared smaller than I recalled,
but his eyes brightened upon seeing me.
"Princess," he exclaimed. He referred to me by my childhood nickname,
but I requested that he refrain from using it since I have transitioned to a different phase in my life at bedtime.
"I am no longer your princess. I am a businesswoman who has established her own enterprise." After a brief moment of doubt,
he reached for my hand,
and I permitted him to take it. He stated that he has viewed every news segment on you and has retained every piece that your mother possesses. A scrapbook.
Gilbert's mother cautioned against allowing him to speak. I withdrew my hand.
"Did you? I take pleasure in observing from as I triumphed.
Not due to your influence, but in spite of it." His expression contorted. "We were mistaken. I was mistaken the day you departed from the wedding.
I realized we had committed a grave error.
Yet you never attempted to rectify it. We were unaware of how to proceed." "Mom," you interrupted, "that you were quite furious and upset.
Yet subsequently achieved great success." I was embarrassed when my phone sounded again. "Quinton should contemplate well before declining my proposal. I can tarnish more than just your brother's reputation." I revealed the message indicating Quinton's attempt to undermine Knox's. He sought my assistance in pursuing opportunities in the industry.
"But you declined."
As my father inquired, I acted because success is not predicated on undermining others, it is about transcending challenges.
"I have taken a stand. The gala is in 3 weeks. My team will reach out to you with the details at the door." I turned back.
"And oh,
Father,
recover swiftly. You will require your vigor to observe your children succeed or fail based on their own merits henceforth."
As I exited the hospital,
I messaged Vanessa to arrange a meeting with Quinton. It is time for him to meet. Discovered the consequences of threatening a phoenix. The dynamics shifted towards retribution. My objective had shifted. I was now focused on justice, which I was discovering could manifest in several forms. Vanessa remarked that your brother is performing unexpectedly well in the mailroom, a floral arrangement in the country club's great ballroom. He has not expressed any dissatisfaction and requested an opportunity to verified the table arrangements for the 100th time. Check his acceptance. Tomorrow night's charity event demands flawless arrangements. Chandeliers glimmered above, with each table adorned with sophisticated centerpieces. The guest list comprised all the social climbers who had attended Knox's wedding 5 years prior,
including Lena, one of our new interns. "Mr. Quinton has arrived, and is insisting on a conversation with you." As I adjusted my outfit, Quinton burst through the double doors, his cheeks flushed with rage. He exclaimed, "You are poaching my clients."
"Lower your voice."
I instructed. "This is a private club. 50% of my client list can cancel their contracts in the morning."
All of them referenced the Phoenix Event's new small business effort. As he moved closer in an attempt to scare me, "This is due to my threat against your esteemed brother. In reality,
it stems from your exorbitant pricing due to subpar service."
I presented him with a folder containing complaints from his previous consumers regarding inadequate communication and undisclosed issues. Should I proceed with caution with the expenses of inferior merchants?
Vanessa, while I was stepping forward, my phone buzzed with a text from Mom. "My father is being freed tomorrow, and he insists on attending the gala."
I informed Quinton of the situation. "Cease all threats and rumors. Concentrate on enhancing your performance. Establish your own business rather than attempting to undermine others, or what I relinquish these grievances to the press would undoubtedly intrigue your investors over your business operations."
Clutched a folder in his fist. "This is not concluded. In fact, it is." I gestured to security, who kindly accompanied Mr. Quinton out and ensured he was removed from tomorrow's guest list. Following his departure, Vanessa emitted a low whistle, which I found enjoyable to observe. I conceded. "Yet it is not during the principal event the following evening."
I positioned myself at the entryway to welcome visitors as they arrived. Each visage was recognizable from Knox's wedding.
The identical individuals who saw my family select him over me. "Lena."
"Dear Mrs. Patterson," kissed my cheeks and remarked on how extensively we have read about your achievement.
"Who would have anticipated this? Not my parents.
I replied. They naively wagered all on Knox's wedding rather than my schooling. She became pale and rushed away inside KNX. I arrived early in a rented tuxedo while the mailroom staff instructed me.
He attempted a joke about humility. And I handed him a stack of programs. Make yourself helpful. My parents arrived. My father appeared sickly in his tuxedo. While my mother, they hesitated at the door while holding his arm. You came, I remarked. I said we wouldn't. I miss it. Dad answered. Although I am uncertain if we merit being here. You do not. I concurred. However, it is not the crux of the matter. When I took the stage for my statement, the crowd became silent. 5 years ago, many of you attended another occasion in this very room. My brother's wedding, where murmurs rippled amidst the bustle. What you were unaware of was that the wedding was financed with my college tuition. My future was forfeited. Today, during a single day of social ascension,
I observed my mother bow her head in embarrassment. We are initiating the Phoenix Scholarship Fund for students whose families chose aesthetics before education, for each aspiration postponed due to societal pressure.
I halted.
And my parents made the first contribution by selling their country club membership.
A move that made Mom and Dad gasp in the room. Nodded slowly.
Embracing their function in this moment, success is not contingent upon who you are regardless of one's background or familial lineage. Success is contingent upon diligence and perseverance, overcoming adversities that want to undermine you. I elevated my glass to second. Opportunities are earned,
not bestowed. Following the lecture,
my father approached me gradually. Your mother's membership was a source of pride and delight. I am aware that we are also selling the house. He softly remarked that it is excessively large and costly and that they have located a more modest accommodation.
Good.
Lena touched my arm. I recognize that we can never atone for our actions.
But observing you this evening and witnessing the lady you have become despite our actions,
I have never felt prouder or more humiliated. Emotions can coexist.
As I stated,
akin to love and accountability across the room. KNX was meticulously verifying guest names against the donation list while Vanessa was engaging in networking to prospective clients.
My mother elucidated to her society acquaintances the rationale for her decision to relinquish her upon receiving a final notification on my phone. I discovered a text from Quinton stating, "You win?" I subsequently erased it. This was no longer about victory, it was about rectifying matters. Not only with my family but far beyond at times. The most effective kind of retribution is not revenge but rather personal growth and resilience adequate to transcend it.
KNX.
These studies are indeed commendable. I reviewed through the market study he had completed after 3 months with the company. Who recognized your potential? We sat in the office.
The city lights twinkled behind us as KNX ascended from the mailroom to the position of junior analyst. He stated that he learned from observing you, particularly as you constructed your endeavors while managing double shifts and pursuing online business courses in his leisure time. The emergence of Phoenix from nothing is an inspiring phenomenon, nonetheless.
Flattery is ineffectual. However, I could not refrain from smiling. Despite your appraisal of the technological sector's event requirements, being my phone illuminated with a message from Mom, "The house closes tomorrow. Some old photographs you may desire. How are they faring?"
KNX inquired. Observing the emotion in the new environment signals an adjustment. The relocation has eroded my father's pride. They moved from their home to a 2-bedroom condominium.
And while I submitted the report,
I also underwent therapy assisting them in comprehending the rationale behind their decisions.
Including your involvement is paramount. Before I could respond, Vanessa entered the office and instructed me to switch on the news, prompting me to seize the remote control upon activating the wall-mounted television. Quinton's visage dominated the display.
Positioned outside his company's edifice, I hate to advise that Quantum Events is declaring bankruptcy due to recent investigations into our operations. Business practices have disclosed that I was not involved. As indicated by the holy KNX whisper, I promptly indicated my agreement,
stating that I had cautioned several clients against his tactics. However, it was not you, Vanessa interjected.
It was I.
At least in part. Do you recall those I collected complaints, which I may have forwarded to a journalist acquaintance? I confronted her. Vanessa. Over the threats made against you she crossed her arms to persuade you into harming your own sibling.
No one interferes with my best friend. KNX cleared his throat to indicate that there is anything he needs to convey. Both of us turned to him. Quinton approached me last week and offered me a position. He stated that he would appoint me as regional director if I disclosed Phoenix's client information.
While he averted his gaze to his hands, I informed him of my refusal, subsequently reporting him to the Business Ethics Board. You did what? I inquired, stunned.
I realized I had chosen my sister over an easier option as he caught my gaze. My phone buzzed once more, this time. It was my father informing me of my Stanford acceptance. The letter in the attic evokes a profound sense of both shame and pride for your development.
Despite our circumstances, I must convey this to you, I informed KNX, while both of you were present.
And I guided them to the conference room where a presentation had been arranged. Tomorrow's board meeting will feature a title slide reading Phoenix Events, Next Generation.
What is the leadership structure?
Vanessa inquired about my 5-year succession plan. I reviewed the slides. Vanessa, you will assume the role of CEO.
As your business acumen surpasses mine, and your loyalty is indisputable. She screamed. Lena. I cannot. You can, and you will. I have entrusted Knox and you, if you continue to demonstrate your competence.
You will lead our efforts initiating a new technology division as deputy director.
Advancing through the ranks appropriately this time. What about you?
KNX inquired. I am establishing a foundation called the Phoenix. The scholarship grant was merely the commencement. I presented the concluding slides to them. We will offer education and mentorship to children whose families are unable or unwilling to support their aspirations. She shed tears. You are remarkable, you are aware of it. I am pragmatic. I rectified the situation. Success holds no significance if it is not utilized to elevate others. A knock at the door disturbed us. Mother stood there,
grasping a cardboard box.
I apologize for the interruption, she stated.
But I discovered. She eagerly placed the box on the conference table, which contained photographs, report cards,
and academic awards. Document my entire childhood of accomplishments they had retained but never commemorated. We were so fixated on Knox's potential that we overlooked the star directly before us. She, the therapist, gently guided us to recognize that we were navigating our own social aspirations through him. I discovered a photograph of my adolescent self receiving a scientific prize. She took a big breath. I desire them exhibited at the foundations, serving as a reminder of the consequences when parents prioritize inappropriate matters.
If you permit me to assist with the foundation. I saw Vanessa, my formidable protector.
In the room. KNX is finally becoming the sibling I have always desired while my mother attempts to compose the past. Next month,
we will lay the foundation for wrongs.
And I have indicated that there is significant work ahead. She stated that she is finally prepared to assist you as we should have from the beginning. I gave her a business card for the meeting tomorrow at 9 o'clock. Do not be tardy. As she departed, grasping the card as though it were a lifeline.
I recognize that at times, family, your reconstruction is more robust than the one into which you were born. And at times,
the optimal revenge is demonstrating to others how to ascend. The Phoenix Foundation's inaugural gala was vibrant with energy as students interacted. Business leaders are articulating their ideas and aspirations on a digital platform. The counter indicated that 57 scholarships have already been awarded. Vanessa stated,
appearing at my side, that your speech is limited to 5 minutes. I was anxious and frightened when I adjusted my necklace.
A Phoenix pendant gifted by KNX.
Did you observe the individuals present? She gestured towards the entryway, where my father was welcoming people. Having insisted on managing the door himself, he claimed it was necessary to personally welcome each student. Which is difficult to accept, Vanessa said. People change. Referring to the same individual who had previously exchanged my schooling for a wedding. In this context,
KNX approached a young woman attired in a modest blue outfit. Lena. This is Maria. She is one of our scholarship recipients whom my parents wish to introduce. Maria softly suggested that I marry instead of attending college. And then I read about you in the business journal. What transpired with your family?
And how did you achieve success despite such circumstances?
I am inquiring because I am commencing my studies at MIT next fall.
She grinned. My parents are not communicating with me.
Yet you are thriving. I have completed my tasks. Please visit me tomorrow as we may have an internship opportunity. As Maria departed, KNX cleared his throat.
indicating the tech division's interest. The figures indicate a 30% increase from the previous quarter.
I am aware that I adjusted his tie. I may have relinquished the CEO job. But I continue to review the reports. Old habits are difficult to eradicate. He hinted at something along those lines as Mom appeared, bearing a binder containing everything prepared for the announcement.
I ascended the platform,
surveying the gathering as the faces coalesced into a blur of business leaders. Students, family, and friends are all integral components of this peculiar yet lovely journey.
5 years ago.
I stood in this room 5 years ago and introduced the Phoenix Scholarship Fund. Today, we are advancing it further. I read the packet that my mother had provided. The Phoenix Foundation has expanded beyond scholarships and is now initiating a mentorship program linking students with business leaders for guidance.
Applause resonated across the room. Nevertheless, I halted,
discovering my parents have consented to recount their narrative amidst the audience narrative as an element of the initiative to demonstrate to other families the expense of prioritization. Parental concern for social status overshadowed their children's aspirations. The father wiped his eyes while the mother squeezed his hand.
And ultimately,
I proceeded by stating that we are collaborating with companies throughout the country should offer paid internships,
as talent ought not to be restricted by financial limitations. I smiled at Maria, judging by the expectations of others.
I located my parents near the photo wall following the lecture. I am presenting my childhood accomplishments alongside news articles highlighting my success.
I have something for you, Dad, she stated while extracting an envelope,
which contained a check for the precise amount of my original.
We cannot alter the past, he stated, but we have been diligently saving every cent for the college fund since the heart attack.
The focus has shifted from financial concerns to recognizing what we have taken from you. Retain it,
I instructed. Returning it.
Donate it to the foundation. Allow it to assist someone in need. Otherwise,
we are very proud of you, Mom said. Not because of your achievements. However, because of your utilization.
You could have obliterated us and annihilated KNX instead.
You demonstrated a superior method. Vanessa screamed out from across the room. Lena, the reporters have arrived.
Go,
Dad instructed as I departed.
I overheard KNX recounting his journey to Maria. The mailroom director overheard a mother elucidating the foundation's family counseling program to a contributor. I saw my father welcoming another pupil with tears in his eyes. This was not the revenge I had once dreamed of, rather,
it was better and more purposeful. My phone chimed a message from an unfamiliar number. It was Quinton.
As you correctly indicated, is there any possibility that your foundation requires another cautionary tale?
I have shared the message with Vanessa. What should I do? You believe I interpret her statement, articulated slowly, to suggest that rising above signifies assisting others in their ascent, even erstwhile adversaries.
I responded on Monday at 9 a.m. Present your narrative. Gara encircled me.
A maelstrom of nascent dreams, constructed bridges,
and mended wounds in the vicinity of KNX. Maria conversed with prospective investors near the entrance while her father embraced a weeping student whose parents had arrived at the stage.
My mother was poised to recount our narrative to the media. This was my legacy. Not the firm I established, but the lives I have contributed to restoring.
Rather than the prosperity I achieved.
I had attained success, yet the chances I had generated.
Occasionally,
the most effective retribution is not revenge. Occasionally manifests as a demonstration of one's capabilities.